The polished oak doors creaked open just a crack, and Alexander Voss stepped into his sprawling estate sooner than anyone had planned. His custom loafers clicked against the heated slate floors, still carrying the weight of a day spent crushing competitors in glass-walled towers. The air smelled faintly of cedar, and the crisp bite of late autumn drifting in from the open courtyard. All he craved was a stiff drink, the hush of empty rooms, and the chance to forget the numbers that ruled his life. But the sight in the sunlit library hit him like a freight train. There was Elena, his housekeeper in her crisp grey uniform, perched on the edge of a leather ottoman, sketching intricate star charts on a massive roll of butcher paper that spilled across the Persian rug like a river of midnight. And sprawled on the rug in front of her were his 6-year-old twins, Mia and Leo, their little fingers tracing constellations with coloured pencils, eyes wide as if the universe itself had cracked open just for them. The afternoon light poured through the tall arched windows, catching dust motes that danced like tiny galaxies. Mia's curls were tangled from hours of leaning over the paper. Leo's shirt was untucked, one sock missing. They weren't sitting still. They were alive, vibrating with a kind of wonder Alex hadn't seen in them since they were toddlers discovering puddles. This wasn't dusting. This wasn't folding laundry into perfect squares. This wasn't the quiet, invisible labor he paid Elena to perform without ever really seeing her. This was teaching. Real, soul-deep teaching. The kind of lesson no private academy with its ivy-covered walls and 6-figure tuition had ever bothered to give his kids. Alex froze in the doorway, tie half loose, heart thudding against his ribs like a trapped bird. His briefcase slipped from his fingers and hit the floor with a dull thud that echoed through the vaulted ceiling. Neither child noticed. Elena did. Her hand stilled mid-stroke. The marker hovered above Orion's belt, a single black dot suspended in time. Elena's voice floated soft but sure, carrying over the scratch of pencils and the faint hum of the grandfather clock in the hall. See how Orion's belt lines up with the winter triangle? That's not random. The sky's telling us a story, if we're brave enough to listen. Mia giggled, pointing with a purple pencil. Miss Elena, does that mean the stars are like friends? Better, Elena said, tapping the paper gently, her accent curling around the words like smoke. They're guides. And you too? You're learning to read the map. Leo leaned in, his tongue poking out in concentration. But why does the Big Dipper look like a spoon? Spoons don't fly. Elena laughed, a low, warm sound that filled the room like sunlight. Everything in the sky used to be a story, Leo. The Greeks thought the Dipper was a bear with a long tail. The Chinese saw a chariot. Your job? Decide what you see. Alex's throat tightened. He couldn't remember the last time he'd sat with his kids for more than 5 minutes without a phone buzzing or a deal collapsing. His world was quarterly reports, hostile takeovers, and the cold glow of stock tickers. Their world? Handed off to nannies, tutors, and the occasional video call from Singapore or Dubai, or wherever the next merger dragged him. He'd built an empire on precision. Every decimal, every clause, every handshake calculated to the ounce. But this was chaos and magic, and something so pure it made his chest ache. Yet here was Elena, the woman he'd nodded at each morning like she was part of the furniture, unlocking something in his children he'd never even known was locked. He should have walked away. Should have pretended he hadn't seen. Should have retreated to his study with its leather chairs and its silence and its lies about what mattered. But his feet wouldn't move. Leo spotted him first. Daddy, look, Miss Elena says the stars are Marth. The boy scrambled to his feet, dragging the butcher paper with him. A comet's tail smudged across the floor. Mia followed, clutching her pencil like a sword. Elena turned fully now, and the marker slipped from her fingers, clattering to the hardwood. Her face drained of colour. Mr. Voss, I didn't hear you come in. I'm so sorry, What is this? Alex's voice came out rougher than he meant, like gravel under tires. She stood quickly, smoothing her apron with hands that trembled just slightly. The twins found my old astronomy notes in the laundry room last week. They wouldn't let it go. I only meant to answer a question. I overstepped. I'll clean this up and... Old notes? Alex's mind reeled. He'd hired Elena 3 years ago through an agency that vetted staff like they were applying for security clearance. Quiet, efficient, discreet. References from a duke in Monaco and a tech mogul in Silicon Valley. He'd never asked where she'd come from. Never wondered why someone with hands that steady and a voice that calm was scrubbing his countertops at dawn while his children slept in rooms that cost more than most people's houses. Mia tugged his sleeve, her eyes huge. Daddy, Miss Elena used to be a real scientist. She knows why the moon follows us in the car. Elena's eyes dropped to the floor. I studied astrophysics, she said, barely above a whisper. Back home. Before everything. The word everything hung heavy between them, thick as the dust in the air. Alex opened his mouth, closed it. The twins were staring at him, waiting for something. Approval, anger, anything. He managed a nod. Carry on, he said, voice cracking like a teenager's. I'll be in my study. But he didn't go to his study. He lingered in the hallway, just out of sight, ear pressed to the crack in the door like a thief. Elena's voice drifted out again, softer now. Let's try something. Close your eyes. Imagine you're floating above the earth. What do you see? Mia, blue. And clouds. Leo. And the moon's a big marble. Good, Elena said. Now open your eyes. That marble? It's 238,000 miles away. Further than every car trip you've ever taken, added up 1,000 times. And it's been there for 4.5 billion years, waiting for someone to notice. Alex's chest caved in. He slid down the wall, sat on the cold floor in his $3,000 suit, and listened. That night, Alex didn't sleep. He paced the master suite, a cavernous room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the estate's infinity pool and the dark hills beyond. The city lights glittered in the distance like a circuit board. He poured a drink, set it down untouched. Poured another. He kept seeing Leo's tiny finger tracing the path of a comet. Kept hearing Elena say, asterisk. The universe doesn't care how much money you have. It only cares if you're looking up. Asterisk. At 2:17 a.m., he found himself in the laundry room. The washer hummed. A basket of unfolded towels sat on the counter. And there, half buried under a child's superhero cape, was a spiral notebook. The cover was worn, the pages yellowed. He opened it. Page after page of handwritten equations. Orbital mechanics. Stellar evolution. A diagram of a pulsar with notes in a language he didn't recognize. Spanish? Portuguese? Margins filled with doodles of rockets and tiny stick-figure children waving at the stars. On the inside cover, in faded ink, Elena Maria Castillo, Universidad Nacional, 2011. Para mis hermanos. Para que nunca dejen de mirar arriba. Asterisk for my siblings. So they never stopped looking up. Asterisk. Alex closed the notebook like it burned. The next morning, he cancelled his 8 a.m. board call. He stood in the kitchen doorway and watched Elena flip pancakes for the twins. She wore the same grey uniform, but now he noticed the way her hair was pinned back with a pencil. The same kind she'd used to draw constellations. Mia was telling a story about a dream where she flew to Jupiter. Leo interrupted to argue that Saturn had better rings. Elena listened like it was the most important debate in the world. Alex cleared his throat. Elena. A word. She froze, spatula midair. Of course, sir. They stepped into the pantry. The air smelled of vanilla and flour. I saw the notebook, he said. Her shoulders stiffened. I can explain. No need. I want to know why. She looked at him for a long moment, as if weighing whether he could handle the truth. Then she spoke, voice low. I was the first in my family to go to university. My father drove a bus. My mother cleaned houses. I won a scholarship, full ride. I thought I'd build telescopes, maybe work for NASA one day. But then, she swallowed. My father had a stroke. The medical bills, we lost the house. I had to drop out in my final year. My siblings were still in school. Someone had to provide. Alex's stomach twisted. So you came here? I answered an ad. Live-in housekeeper, international family, discretion required. I thought if I could just save enough, I could go back. Finish my degree. But 3 years turned into 5. Then 10. The money goes home. My mother's diabetes. My brother's tuition. There's never enough. She laughed, bitter and soft. I told myself it was temporary. But temporary has a way of becoming permanent. Alex stared at the floor. And the twins? They asked about the moon one night. I couldn't lie. Once I started, I couldn't stop. They're hungry for it, Mr. Voss. Not for toys or screens. For why? He nodded slowly. Keep teaching them. Her eyes widened. Sir, I mean it. Whatever you need, books, supplies, time. Take it. She opened her mouth, closed it. Then, quietly, thank you. He started watching from the hallway. Not obvious. Just enough to catch the way Elena turned gravity into a bedtime story. One afternoon, she had the twins lying on their backs in the garden, staring at the sky through cardboard tubes wrapped in foil. These are your telescopes, she said. Now find Venus. It's the brightest thing up there before sunset. Mia squealed when she spotted it. It's a diamond. Leo frowned. Why's it so bright? Because it's covered in clouds that reflect sunlight like a mirror. But those clouds? They're made of acid. Deadly. Beautiful and deadly. Alex leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, trying not to smile. Another day, she used cookie crumbs to show orbital decay. Watch, she said, sprinkling crumbs in a circle around a glass of milk. This is how moons stay in orbit. But if the moon gets too close, she nudged a crumb. It spiraled inward and plopped into the milk. Leo gasped. It drowned. Exactly. Everything in space is a dance. One wrong step, and splash. When Mia got frustrated and crumpled her star map, Elena didn't scold her. She just said, "Every astronomer's first draft looks like trash. That's how you know you're doing it right." And the twins changed. Leo, who used to throw tantrums when he couldn't win at board games, now sat for hours puzzling out light year math. He'd march into Alex's office with a crayon-drawn diagram of a rocket trajectory and demand, "Daddy, is this how escape velocity works?" Mia, shy around strangers, started asking the gardener about soil composition because everything's connected, Daddy. Miss Elena says the same dirt that grows roses once fell from a star. Alex's chest ached with something he hadn't felt in years. Guilt, sharp and clean. One evening, he found Elena in the kitchen, staring at a letter with shaking hands. The overhead light cast harsh shadows across her face. "My sister," she said when he sat down across from her. "Back in my village. The hospital, they can't treat her tumor. It's inoperable here. I need to go." Alex didn't hesitate. "Take the jet. Take whatever you need." She looked at him like he'd grown a second head. "Sir, I can't." "You're not asking," he said. "I'm telling. You've given my kids the sky. Let me give you this." She cried then, quiet, shoulders shaking, the kind of crying that comes from a place too deep for sound. And for the first time, Alex saw the weight she carried. The degree she'd abandoned, the mother she sent money to every month, the dreams she'd folded up like laundry and tucked away in a drawer labeled later. He reached across the table and took her hand. "Elena, you're not temporary anymore." She was gone for 3 months. The house felt hollow without her. The twins' moped. The star charts gathered dust. Alex tried to fill the gap. Downloaded astronomy apps, bought a $12,000 telescope that arrived in a crate the size of a coffin. But the magic was gone. He flew to her village himself in late November. It was a place of red dirt roads and tin roofs, where dogs slept in the shade of mango trees and children played soccer with a ball made of taped-up plastic bags. The hospital was a concrete building with peeling paint and a generator that coughed like an old man. Elena met him at the gate. She looked thinner, her eyes older. "She's stable," she said. "For now. The doctors you sent, they saved her." Alex nodded, throat tight. "Show me your home." She led him down a narrow path to a small house with a corrugated roof. Inside, the walls were covered in children's drawings. Stick figures under starry skies, rockets made of bottle caps. "My siblings," she said. "They heard about the twins. They want to meet the man who made their sister cry happy tears." That night, he sat on a plastic chair in the courtyard while Elena's mother, frail but fierce, cooked beans over a wood fire. The stars were different here. Brighter. Closer. A little girl tugged his sleeve. "Senor, is it true you have a swimming pool in your house?" "Yes." "Does the moon swim in it?" Alex laughed until his eyes watered. When Elena came back in February, the twins tackled her at the door. Mia sobbed into her apron. Leo refused to let go of her hand for 3 days. But things were different now. Alex had cleared out the old playroom, a mausoleum of unused toys, and turned it into a mini observatory. Telescopes lined the walls. A chalkboard covered one entire side. Glow-in-the-dark stars dotted the ceiling in perfect constellations. And Elena? She wasn't just the housekeeper anymore. He'd created the Voss Foundation for STEM outreach, seeded with $50 million of his own money. The mission? Bring hands-on science to kids who'd never touched a microscope. And at its heart was Elena, not as a maid, not as a helper, but as the director, the visionary, the mentor. The board hated it at first. His CFO cornered him in the elevator. "Alex, this is a PR stunt. You're letting the help run your legacy." "What's next?" Promoting the gardener to COO. His oldest friend, a hedge fund titan, called him drunk at midnight. "You're embarrassing yourself. Billionaires don't grovel to staff." Social media feasted on the scandal. Billionaire's maid turned tutor. Genius or gimmick? Is Alexander Voss having a midlife crisis? Inside the estate where the help calls the shots. Alex just smiled. Let them talk. His twins could now explain black holes better than most Harvard freshmen. Mia had started a star club at her preschool. Leo had written a letter to NASA asking if they needed a 6-year-old astronaut. The first big test came in April. The Foundation's launch gala was held in the estate's ballroom. Crystal chandeliers, string quartet, donors in tuxedos sipping champagne that cost more per bottle than Elena's mother made in a year. Elena stood at the podium in a simple navy dress, hands clasped to hide their trembling. I used to think the stars were out of reach, she began. Then I met 2 children who taught me that wonder isn't about money or degrees. It's about curiosity and courage. She told her story, not the polished version, but the raw one. The bus driver father, the stroke, the scholarship lost, the years of scrubbing floors while dreaming of galaxies. The room was silent. Then a woman in the back, a tech CEO worth billions, started clapping. Others joined. By the end, half the room was in tears. Pledge cards came back with zeros that made Alex's eyes water. But the real triumph came in June. Mia and Leo, now 7, won first place in a national science fair for kids under 10. Their project, a working model of a Mars rover made from Lego, powered by a solar panel they'd soldered themselves. The judges were stunned. Who taught you this? One asked. The twins pointed to Elena, standing quietly in the back with a proud, tear-streaked smile. That night, Alex found her on the observatory balcony, staring at the sky through the big telescope. They did it, he said. We did it, she corrected. He handed her an envelope. Inside, a full scholarship to finish her degree at any university in the world. Tuition, housing, a stipend. No strings. She stared at it for a long time. I can't leave them. You're not leaving, he said. You're expanding. Online classes. Summer's here. The Foundation needs a director with a PhD. She laughed through tears. You planned this. Guilty. Years passed. Mia and Leo grew into teenagers, brilliant, kind, unafraid to fail. Mia published her first paper on exoplanet atmospheres at 16. Leo started a non-profit building telescopes for rural schools. Elena earned her doctorate at 38. Her thesis, Citizen Science and the Democratization of Discovery. The dedication read, For the children who taught me to look up again. Alex stepped back from the company, sold his majority stake, poured everything into the foundation. The estate changed too. The playroom became a community lab, open weekends for local kids. The ballroom hosted science camps. The infinity pool? Still there, but now it reflected a sky full of kids who believed they belonged among the stars. One night, 15 years after that first afternoon in the library, Alex found Elena in the observatory. She was 70 now, hair silver, hands steady as ever. The twins, 21 and home from university, were sprawled on the floor, arguing over dark matter. Alex leaned in the doorway, watching. Elena caught his eye and smiled. Remember when you dropped your briefcase? He chuckled. I thought I'd imagined it. You didn't. You just weren't looking. Mia looked up. Dad, did you know Miss Elena's getting the National Medal of Science next month? Leo grinned. And we're presenting it. Family tradition. Alex's eyes stung. He crossed the room and hugged Elena, something he'd never done before. She smelled like chalk and starlight. Thank you, he whispered. She patted his back. Thank you. For seeing me. Later, when the kids had gone to bed, Alex stood on the balcony alone. The sky was clear, the Milky Way a river of light. He thought about the man he'd been, ruthless, distant, measuring worth in commas and zeros. He thought about the man he'd become, still rich, but richer in ways no balance sheet could capture. And he thought about Elena, who'd traded a lab coat for an apron and never once stopped teaching. Somewhere below, he heard Mia laugh at something Leo said. The sound floated up like a comet's tail. Alex smiled. The greatest discovery of his life hadn't been a company, a patent, or a billion-dollar exit. It was a woman who taught 2 6-year-olds, and their father, that the universe is vast, but wonder is bigger. And if you're still here, still feeling that lump in your throat, drop Inspire in the comments. Because some stories aren't just stories. They're proof that kindness, when it's real, rewrites the sky.